Hi there, it's Jeremy Myers from RedeemingGod.com. In this short video, I am going to present to you some shocking ideas about baptism. You may think you know what baptism is and how it is done, but what you will learn in this video will turn everything you think you know about baptism upside down. So are you ready? Most people are familiar with this type of baptism, and many are familiar with this type of baptism as well. And then there's this form of baptism. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but I don't think the baby enjoys it. With all the various options on baptism, sometimes you feel like this guy and you need a big chart in order to make sense of it all. So which type of baptism is best? What is the significance, the symbolism, the meaning of baptism? Well, in my book, Dying to Religion and Empire, I do have several chapters about baptism and the history and origin of baptisms and what it means. And I point out in that book that originally baptisms were a Jewish baptism called a mikvah. Did you know there was such a thing? Yes, a mikvah is a Jewish baptism. It's a type of ceremonial washing, and you can see even in some of these pictures from modern days and from ancient mikvah sites that they were very, very similar to Christian baptisms the way we think of them today. They had a pool of water, and the Jewish people would go into them where they are immersed in the water, and then they come back up. And so here's sort of an older picture, possibly of one. And so it's very possible that when John the Baptist came into the Jordan River and was baptizing people, and he ultimately eventually baptized Jesus, that this is the baptism he was participating in. It was a Jewish mikvah, a ceremonial cleansing. It didn't have anything to do with people becoming Christians because at this point, there was no Christianity. So in the Jewish baptism, which John was performing in the Jordan River, what happened is when someone undertook, performed this Jewish baptism, everybody knew and understood automatically what it meant because it was so common. Today, some Jewish people go through this ceremonial washing every single day. And so people, when they watched this, you didn't have to explain to them what you were doing or why you were doing it. They would immediately understand the symbolism of it. The mikvah symbolized death to the past and being raised to a new life, a life of purity and obedience to God. And so here's what would happen. If you saw your neighbor undergo baptism or mikvah, the way we're seeing in this video, you would immediately know what it meant. But here's the thing. You would not know why they were dying to their past. You would see that they were doing this, but you would not know why. And so, out of curiosity, you would go up to them and ask, "Hey, Shimon." Hey, in this case, Yeshua, Jesus. "Hey, John, Johann," right? "I saw you went through the mikvah yesterday. What was that all about? What in your past are you dying to? What change are you making in your life?" And then this, of course, gives you the opportunity to tell that other person what change you are making in your life. What this means is that when the apostles, after the church was birthed in Acts chapter 2, they were looking for ways to help the new Christians tell other people about their faith in Jesus Christ. And they looked around and they said, what can we do? What symbols are in our culture that will spark curiosity in the lives of other people so that they will come and ask us what change we've made in our life. They will see what we're doing and they will say, something's changed. I want to ask them about what's changed. And then this will give the new Christians an opportunity to tell others about Jesus. And so they chose mikvah, the Jewish baptism. It was a ready-made symbol right in their culture that everybody already understood, that didn't need to be explained, the symbolism did not need to be explained, and which sparked curiosity and interest and questions in the minds of the people, the non-Christian people who observed it. So the question becomes, since the early form of baptism originated with Judaism, and we're not Jewish today, should we get baptized today? Well, I think that we should do the same thing the early church did. And by that, I do not mean that we are to copy them in baptism. Instead, we are to do the same thing the early church did. That is, we are to find some cultural symbols in our own culture, in our own time, in our own society today that, number one, automatically shows others that we have changed. When they see us perform a certain action, do a certain thing, right, undergo a certain ceremony, then it will automatically tell them something has changed in our life. And then the symbol should also do a second thing. It should spark curiosity in their mind to ask us what changed. We shouldn't have to explain the symbolism or anything like that to them. They should automatically know, but they won't know what has changed in our life, and they will be eager to ask us about it, which will give us an opportunity to tell them. So, if that's the case, then what sort of symbols might exist in our culture today that are like this? In my book, Dying to Religion and Empire, I do make several suggestions about what sorts of things people could do to spark this curiosity and questions in our culture today. I give some examples of even how people could do this in other cultures. For example, in the section on death rites, I give the example of the Caviteño people in the Philippines. They have a burial ceremony where they bury people in the trunks of trees. And I suggest that Christians in that society, that culture, could go through a mock burial ceremony where they bury themselves in a tree trunk and then the next morning rise from the dead or something like that. This ceremony would cause people to ask, why did you do that? Why did you act like you were dying and then come back to life? And the new Christians would be able to answer, something has changed in my life. I'm going to be a follower of Jesus. I'm dying to my past. I suggest the same thing for people who live among the Tibetan Buddhists up in the mountains. They have a sky burial ceremony there, and Christians again could undergo a mock sky ceremony. And people would ask them, why did you do that? Why did you act like you were dying out there? So what sorts of things could be done in our own culture today? Well, I do suggest several in the book. There are many in modern Western culture. For example, we live in a very materialistic society. If you were to sell your house and your car and all of your possessions, or some of them, people would say, why did you do that? And they would raise questions to you about what has changed in your life. You could change your clothing. If you like to wear bright and colorful clothing, then you could start wearing all black and brown. And people would say, what's changing? Why are you wearing such drab clothing nowadays? Social media. If you have social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, things like that, you could delete those accounts. And people would say, why did you do that? How am I supposed to get in contact with you? You had so many followers. What did you do? I knew a pastor who did that, and he had those sorts of questions. Even as you're watching this video, you might have noticed one other change you could possibly make. Cut your hair. I started this video with long hair. It's now short. All right? Very symbolic. I had many people at work yesterday ask me, why did you cut your hair? It was long, now it's short. What's changed in your life? What brought this on? And there is a change coming up in my life, and so I was able to talk to them about this. Okay? Look, I don't know what you might be able to do. I do raise some possibilities in the book, Dying to Religion and Empire, and also in my course, the online course Gospel Dictionary. I have a lesson there on baptism, and in the lesson I teach some other things about what the Bible says about baptism, what it means, and how we can be baptized today, and other suggestions there. Look, I don't care what you do to symbolize this change, and if you want to get dunked underwater, go right ahead, okay? But I would also suggest that along with that, you do something that is culturally symbolic, that is going to spark that curiosity in the minds of people who see you do it, and is going to invite them to ask you the question, hey, I noticed you did this, you cut your hair. What changed? Why did you do that? What decision have you made? And that will give you the opportunity as a new believer to tell people that you're dying to the past, your old way of living, and you have been raised again as a follower of Jesus, and you're going to make some changes in your life. Okay? That is what baptism meant in the first century. That is how it can happen today in our culture and times today as well. Look, if you have questions or comments about this, just leave them below. I will try to respond to them as I am able. And if this was helpful for you, please share this video with somebody else so they too can learn more about what it means to be baptized. Thanks again for watching. And look, if you want to join me, just come over to redeeminggod.com. I have lots of resources here, books and podcasts, and all online courses, a discipleship group, and a bunch of other things that will help you in your life as a follower of Jesus. Thank you so much for watching this video. We'll see you again somewhere along the road. Talk to you later. Bye.